The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello, everybody! This is the captain speaking. Rafael Chacines no es el Capitan Rafucho. And welcome, everybody, to an afternoon night talk before the UFC 291 because we got some predictions to do. Because I know the Saturday is for the boys and also Saturday's night fight between the boxing, the UFC, all those things like that. But this one is very important because it's all defined for the BMF title, which you know what that means. So right now, I'm not alone, by the way, because right now we got a special guest right now because we got the one and only. If you guys go here because it's so much great. Here we are, Randy NextShift. How's it going?
Thank you, Mr. El Capitan. What a great intro, my friend. That's right. We do have a great one on tap. There is boxing, of course, Errol Spence versus Crawford. But on the UFC side, we have the BMF title, which stands for the baddest mother effer. And we have a good one. We have Poirier versus Gaethje, two dudes who know what it takes to sit there and slip and rip and just bang it out night out. It's going to be a good one. Also, it's the second time they fought, so this should be good.
There you go. There you go. So we just right now, we had to see the comments right now. So let's see what they got over here. Brian Kolb say, hey, smash the like button, everybody. How's it going? Brian Kolb is in the house. We have a 49ers content creator right now. Also, Brian Kolb says, salute. Salute, everybody. Also, we got a special shout out to Mitch Kulski, the co-creator of the Hardcore Sports Network. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Mitch Kulski because not only he brought some information about the Sixers, also about the Eagles, which is the season is coming close on September, which is totally incredible, folks. So right now, let's get over our predictions right now. So we got Michael Chiesa versus, hold on a minute. Okay, so we have Michael Chiesa for the main card versus Kevin Holland for the welterweight. I mean, this fight is really incredible right now because if you took a look at some incredible fighters for the welter fight, I mean, they got it all for all. I mean, when it comes to Michael Chiesa, he's tremendously good. But even to see for over those fights right now, because the last thing that we just saw of Michael Chiesa, it's very important because he got a brown belt on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under James Weed, which is totally amazing. I know this is something I just have about this one. But not only I just got a, because right now they got a 18 wins and 6 losses, 7 by division, 11 by submission. So right now, let's talk about Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. So Randy, your thoughts?
Yeah, if people don't know, Michael Chiesa is one of those guys that if you get on the ground with him, you better know what you're doing because this guy will cinch up an arm bar. He'll snatch your neck. He'll go for a leg lock. Hell, I've seen the guy put a guy in an omoplata at one point. So for this fight, for me, for Michael Chiesa against Kevin Holland, and we've seen in Kevin Holland's past, he's not the greatest on the ground. I mean, Hamzat Chimaev ran across the ring and grabbed him and just dogged him to the floor and submitted him. But then also, we got to remember, too, that he is not a slouch on the ground. Kevin Holland knocked out one of the greatest welterweights in Jacare Souza coming up with a punch. So, you know, for me, this fight, if I'm Chiesa, I'm trying to get Kevin Holland to the ground, but I also want to display some of my boxing, some of my jiu-jitsu. So I'm going to want to attack his lead leg, stay away from any big shots that he's going to throw, and take him to the ground and basically just try to submit him. And if you're Kevin Holland, you want to avoid that. And if you can, capitalize on open shots. So if Michael Chiesa starts getting lazy, which is not the case, but let's say he shoots for one and he knows it's coming, throw a knee, maybe catch him on the way in, you know. Kevin Holland's that kind of flashy guy. That's something that he could potentially bring to that table.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that Kevin Holland is really taller, longer, is younger. But I looked for the thought of the suggested that Chiesa coming up with a 20 mouth to send out of the studio. But this is like a really tough fight to the call because both Chiesa and Holland, they have the habit of underperforming because I know Chiesa has been able to grapple all these roots and frankly, he looks at himself out of these shocks of the fight. But Holland is a real striker. He's just proven that they're getting gravity to the starts of the score, highlight real chaos, and you don't know really how to go for the either of that guy. But Jesus seems like the most problem community at this point. But it's gonna be like a really upset for the fight between Chiesa versus Holland.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be simple. For me, I think I actually think Chiesa wins this fight. I think he wins it early in the potentially the first round, if not early second round, and it's going to be by submission.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So right now I gotta go for the upset. So right now, let's see what the comments back here. Brian Colby to say Kapoor, Rich Coulter to say Kelly Green jerseys are fire.
They are.
Yeah, we just have a comment between Just Fan Podcast. What's up, y'all? Great show. Shout out from Houston. How's it going, Just Fan Podcast? I just saw your video for the live stream about the soccer and everything about it. We got over here, Wales to New Jersey. Salute Wales. And of course, I can't wait for the fight now between boxing and UFC 291, which is absolutely incredible, folks. I mean, this is something that I just can't understand about it. So right now, let's cut up for the next fight right here. So we just got Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. Because let's just face it. I mean, Ferguson has been running on fumes for all over these years. I mean, it's been a Latinamo for a long time. And it's not being like a Khabib nor gonna do, but there is a chance that about the promotion that had the best lightweight in 2018 or 2019. But he just lost over straight fights, over 5. And it's been KO twice and finished 3 times. It hasn't been pretty at all. But there's a chance to be better with the hospital still qualified to be the mid-level for such as a Green. But it's more likely that whatever has gone, and it's gone for good. Because I just sort of agree about the Ferguson. But Green is kind of the guy that Ferguson should be like at a fighting, but he's been at the round, and King has been playing with loads of experience in him. But the evidence is still that Green should be more faster, stronger, and more durable at the cage. Apparently, if Ferguson is ill prepared with his recent loss to Nate Diaz, but it's gonna be hard to watch. But it's gonna be like Green by TKO. So, any thoughts about that, Randy?
Yeah. You hit it right on the head. El Kukui, he once he got that face kick knockout, that was kind of like the end of like the boogeyman, like he was on that one of the greatest runs in lightweight history, 17 straight wins. Like the guy was just on the precipice of being like the potential next champion, and then boom, stopped like a freight train. Now that makes me wonder, is his chin now starting to be maybe potentially questionable? Can he take big shots? Insert Bobby Green, a guy who can do that, can take damage, but also elicit some more damage. So for me, I mean, shoot, I hate to bet against Tony Ferguson for years and throughout the UFC. And if this fight for Bobby Green to end in a W for him, he's gonna have to pressure Tony Ferguson. He's gonna have to land shots because Ferguson's wild. He's wonky. He'll eat because he's gonna try to shoot for takedowns. So you got to be ready for that. His cardio's got to be up because even though Ferguson's chin may be a question mark, you can't question his heart and his ability to just keep going out there after being either giving up a lot of damage or taking a lot of damage. But with that being said, I got to go with Bobby Green. I think this ends in the first round TKO.
Yeah, I agree. So right now, let us set it right here because right now you're watching our predictions for the UFC 291 is going to be on Salt Lake City on Utah. And
Mile High.
Yep. So right now it is going to be at 10 p.m. with the main card is going to start it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to NextShift Randy over here on YouTube. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Rafael Chassin, as known as Capitan Rafucho on YouTube. And of course, you should subscribe on All Star Sports Network, Hardcore Sports Network, because we got the best of the best, which includes the NFL, the basketball, the baseball, and of course, all these kind of the type of the sports like that. So right now, let's see for another one, which is very interesting. We got John Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. So am I kind of like about a decision about it? But because Alex Pereira when it will be like a breath of fresh air for the lackluster lightweight division. Just about the fighting up Prochaka with the Viking title that we're fighting. But heading to this fight has been a Pereira's lack of grappling and Jan Blachowicz ability to neutralize Israel Asandaya, which is style bender, striking it with takedowns and grappling where they fought 2 years ago. And I would trade like a Blachowicz could do like a ground control against someone to be unnoticed in that department. And Pereira just like being untested, but it's just like the rim to be the pick against the Peruvian's pole. But I think that it'll be like a Jan Blachowicz for unanimous decision.
Okay. For me, I obviously you go based off the last person, like Raphael said, middleweight that came up to fight the light heavyweight, and it was obviously Jan Blachowicz. So, we saw what happened. Israel wasn't able to get his shots off because Jan was able to utilize him and take him down and just ground and pound him to a submission win. So for me, I think Pereira might be a little bit more dangerous, and I think Jan's going to want to somewhat test his ability against him. And I think there's going to be a spot where there's going to be an opening at some point. And Izzy said already, on whether you think it's true or not, but Izzy says that Pereira hits harder than Blachowicz. So take that for what it is and what it is. But I saw the pictures of Pereira. He gained 22 pounds since he weighed in. So he's now sitting at 228 pounds. I mean, shoot, if he was knocking Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya out at light heavyweight. So for me, I'm actually going to be the counter. I'm going to actually say that somehow he will be able to minimize Blachowicz's ability to try to take him down. And he's going to catch him with one. He's going to rock him, and he's going to knock him out. And I say that's going to happen in about the second round. So I'm going to say Pereira by a knockout second round.
That sounds great. So right now, let's see what the comments right now. Blachowicz versus Pereira is going to be a banger, legendary Polish power. And this is going to be like really incredible because they just born in Europe, which is totally amazing. And right now, let's talk about another fight from the main card, which is Derek Lewis versus Rogerio de Lima. Now, let's talk about Derek Lewis. He's on age 38, and he might be able to pass out for the UFC because he's been he just lost 4 of the 5 past 5 bouts while this finish, and his durability, it's like slipping away because he was never like with a highly skilled MMA fighter, but he's been like a historical power puncher and an incredible ability to stand up against wrestlers and scare strikers into a low staring contest. And he was taking it down for the competition right here. His level of position has been never mattered as much as this comes to take a punch. But Rogerio de Lima, he seems like the bare potential nightmare for Lewis. He can really hammer Lewis with the low kicks. Something that is relative with skinny legs or somebody that pass, but he can choose to the grapple. It would seem like the keeping out of the man for like 41 defensive takedown for his back. But Lima has finished 6 losses on his record, but he did not because he hit the kick punch. He tends to tire with his longer fights in the stand, but he said never opponent after the opening frame. But I would say that because both fighters are 10 to 7 to 10 minutes of gas on a regular fight. But they may be only one in this run. It could be this slop. But I would say this. I would say that's gonna be it's gonna be like ending for the 87th of this time. But I will say this. I'll think that the limit's gonna take over Lewis. So any thoughts about it?
Well, for anybody that doesn't know, and for all you people out there, I'm a big Derek Lewis fan. I love the guy.
Yeah.
I saw in the weigh-ins. I don't know how, but guy has a 6-pack as a 330 pounder. Like I saw the 6-pack form in there. Like he's definitely lost some weight. Whether that now translates into better cardio, maybe while he was doing that, maybe he practiced on something. I don't know. I saw it and I got rejuvenated. I got old Derek Lewis vibes. I got, like you said, the guy's got one punch knockout power. He connects with his heavy shot. I don't think there's no man alive that can take that. Like, I think any man that gets hit by that, they're going to sleep. And as good as DeLima has been, like you said, 21-9 now sitting in the UFC. I think there's gonna come a point where he's gonna think that he has to show that, you know, he wants that number 10 spot, because that's also what we got to remember. Lima's 15. Lewis is number 10. He wants that top 10 spot. He wants to come into the top 10 and fight those big boys like the Aspinalls, the Spichkovs, the Krylovs, and so on and so forth, right? So for me, you pick Lima. I'm taking Derek Lewis. I say first round. No, I say early second round TKO.
Okay. All right, I really like that. And of course, we just had a lot of information about what's going on, because we're just doing like a predictions for the main card. And of course, the last one is gonna be really important. It's gonna be the BMF title. Now, let's talk about the history about it, because the title of the BMF title, it doesn't get off like the 2023. Let's take a look at the back at 2019 with the pay-per-view UFC 244, where they just decided to crown the baddest mother ever in the sport. And there was a camera about the pure chance, because in the fact that was like between Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal. It doesn't say it off after defeating Anthony Pettis on a 2-4-1, and they say took on a mic and they say he is the baddest mother ever in the war, because he was challenged to Jorge Masvidal, and because there was the first title fight that was exactly at the Madison Square Garden in New York, because they're got like between a street fighter and the gritty never back down brawler Nate Diaz, because that was like a powerful blows, shots. They must say I had the resilience for the both fighters, but they're terminated this name by the UFC history, but it never like it necessarily like over the S right up on ground. But they just decided to the mark of the running back for the baddest mother ever, the title of 2023, because he just announced for the retirement of the mixed martial arts, leaving the vacant. So right now it's gonna be like the markets at the end of the first chapter, but it was gonna be courage and controversy, but they're gonna return, but between like one of the greatest, and I mean, I'm seriously right now, because this is gonna be like really exciting. We're talking about Justin Gage versus Dustin Poirier, and this is gonna be like the second chapter, because the first one, it was back in 2018 when Dustin Poirier he just beat Justin Gage via TKO on 2018. They just part about the grabs and all of the parties. But this Saturday, which is the fight night, is gonna put all those grabs for the BMF belt, which is totally amazing, because right now he just lost. Dustin Poirier had just lost twice in the past 12 fights when he defeats a lightweight championship between Charles Oliveira. But Gage has only won 2 of the last 3, most recently at the majority decision over Rafael Fiziev. But I mean, it was on the storylines. But I would say that with the top fights that are to go to breaking down. So I would say that because the last time we just see like a one for Justin Poirier, but I think it's gonna be like a revenge. But this time it's gonna be like at the title. So any thoughts about that, Mr. Randy, about the title of BMF for the title between Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje?
Well, I want to start with I know the premise of excuse me. I know the premise of everybody says that they're this is a stupid belt, because I seen the interview Islam Makhachev gave to Daniel Cormier, and he says why that stupid belt, that's for nobody, that's a nobody belt. But I like the idea. I don't know, maybe I'm like cringy old school or something, or new school, whatever you want to call it. But I like the idea is giving somebody the belt. If you're the type of person or male or female that gets in there and lays it all on the line, maybe you never get a chance to fight for a title because you end up losing a fight or two along the way that kind of like derails your opportunity, and then somebody leapfrogs you, and then before you know it, you're an afterthought. But to fight for this, that cements you as somebody that, like, no matter what, you never back down. You always took a fight when you were guaranteed it, and you never ever said no, and you went toe to toe with that person and gave it everything you had. And that's what I think that BMF belt stands for, as the baddest mother effer. So for me, this fight, just like the first one, because I remember it pretty darn good. Gaethje started out pretty good, getting after Poirier, hitting him with a lot of combos. And kind of like started like really making it look like this fight was gonna end with a Gaethje win. Start of the second, he started laying pressure, that is Poirier, with leg kicks, and it was almost neutralizing Gaethje. And then before you knew it, trying to lay combos, he was able to catch him with one. And then, you know, they got to the ground a couple times, but for the most part, he caught him, and then he was able to TKO him by the end. But this is a different Gaethje. I understand it's a different Poirier too, but I don't know. I just have a funny feeling that Gaethje's gonna have the shot. He's kind of awkward in his stance. And I don't know. I just got a funny feeling Gaethje's gonna take this belt. I don't know, but if it's Poirier, I'm not the type of guy that's going to push back and be like, oh, that's stupid. I don't like that or whatever. No, I'm fine with either or. But in my opinion, I think I'm picking Gaethje.
Mm-hmm. That's what's up. That's what's up. And I really like it. So right now we just have it like the predictions for the main card for the UFC 291 is going to be in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is totally amazing. And for those guys who didn't see and know about this, because right now, when it comes to UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, they just had the 38th anniversary. So it became like a long way to do, because since November 1993, it all started with the games for the UFC, and then of course when they got the jiu-jitsu, the Brazilian. Of course, there's a lot of memories that comes for the UFC. For all those UFC fans like me, because right now it's been a hard time to explain now, because right now it's celebrating the 38th anniversary. So right now, let's talk about one of those biggest moments that we just saw in the UFC history all over the 30 years. So we'll just start with Randy, and then we'll just start with me about the biggest moment that we just saw in the UFC history.
I'll give you that really quick. I just also wanted to touch on another fight that's on the card, but it's on the prelims that I'm really excited for. It's Jake Matthews versus Darius Flowers. I'm a really big fan of Jake Matthews, that Australian guy, and he's a up and coming welterweight. I think tonight is the night where he cements himself, and shows Dana White, listen, I'm ready for the either like the first spot on the main card, or give me something early prelims, because like top of the card, because this kid's going to be something to watch. Just like Ian Gary, this kid is Jake Matthews. I'm a really big fan of. But for me, Ref, one of my biggest memories, I can send you pictures afterwards. I went to UFC, I think it was UFC 145.
You mean that 145, right?
Yeah, 145, I believe. Oh shoot, why can't I remember the number? But it came to Calgary, and I got to go see. I got pictures with Sam Stout and Thiago Alves, and I'm sitting like beside them. I'm sitting between them, and I got my arm around them, and I got to take a picture with the UFC heavyweight belt, which was so heavy. And then I got to go to the UFC. Like the weigh-in, the early weigh-ins, and it was a fight where Czech Congo was on the fight card. You know, the big heavyweight back in the day who fought Pat Barry, and they had
I remember that
back and forth fight. Yeah, I ended up getting sick the next day, and I couldn't even actually go to the fight. So I never even got to go to the fight. I was too sick to even go. So I had tickets to go, ended up selling them or whatever. But for me, my fight I remember the most, and I actually got a poster of it on my wall, and I can spin it over right there, and it's UFC
Oh man.
189, and that's when it was Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo in the main event, where Conor caught Aldo and dropped him really quick for the belt. And then when the co-main, which I loved, it was my Canadian fellow Rory McDonald taking on Robbie Lawler in that epic battle where Robbie Lawler's nose was flat to his face. He was pale white. His eyes were so swollen. He looked like a ghost. Robbie Lawler's lip was like splitting up to his nose. It was that for me was like that was the epic card. One of the most epic cards.
Yeah, that was so great. And I remember one of the biggest moments that I just saw that about the Anderson Silva was so phenomenal at this point. And of course, that was something like really incredible I would to see, because it means one of those greatest fighters of all time, because when it comes to knockout, he was like the innovator. He just like unleashed to simulate to fight all those laws of physics, connecting Belfort's up jaw or anything. Yeah, they say Wells doing one of the biggest fights in UFC history. That's right. And we can never forget about the upset of Matt Serra, because everybody plays it like an underdogs. And Matt Serra had big like a stunning upset against George St. Pierre at UFC 6'9" without exception. Because St. Pierre was the welterweight champion and wasn't like the picture of excellence. But Serra, he just capitalized it, just said all the entire war with a tremendous strike. He was just like the sleeve and coming in like the new welterweight king. And I will tell you, because I've been growing up for watching all these fights when I was in high school. I was like at 17 years old. And I was watching all these fights between Anderson Silva, there's Matt Serra, George St. Pierre. That was so amazing. And I was so amazing to watch all those fights, because I was like at the younger age. I was 17 years old. And I cannot relive all of these things like that, because I was so amazing. And I remember because that was Nate Diaz calling out George St. Pierre that I was winning against BG Penn. I remember about that was so amazing. I mean, the chemistry of the Diaz brothers was so unique. You can never miss them. Never miss them. I mean, and of course, we just have to remember about it, which is Royce Grace. He put the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the map. It was at first event of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, because that was like a seminal event of the history of the martial arts. But Royce Gracie, he just stepped into the octagon, and he was a game changer. He was a game changer, because that was just celebrate all those times right now. He just put all the around the map, and it's just like a game changer for all the history of the UFC.
I got a question for you.
And
this is for everybody in the chat too, and everybody that's watching. Sorry. Give me your top 5 favorite fighters all time.
All right. So I got George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, which is the Iceman, and of course I got Nate Diaz. That's coming 5. That's one of my favorite all time.
Wow. Okay. Mine. I got Rampage Jackson. I got Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Oh, that's a great one.
R.I.P. as well, by the way. Too bad he's gone too early. That guy was a machine. George St. Pierre.
I
know this one's going to be weird. Roy Nelson. And then Alistair Overeem. Just because not only UFC, but just what he did in kickboxing and everything else. The guy was a machine.
Oh, yes. I remember that about it. Yes. Also, we got some comments right here that say, Wells, that was a great card.
Yes.
One of the best fights in UFC history. And of course, almost a full arena for the first fight Great crowd in
Wow.
Utah. Yes.
That's rare. That's rare. Usually everybody doesn't show up until like the second or third or probably the first fight almost in the main card. So yeah, that's good. That's good. That means that not only the state but the everybody there wanted UFC. That's what I love about UFC. Like, have you gone to a fight, Raf? Like live?
Oh yes, I just went for a fight live because I was in college. I was in college and I just got off the first fight when I was in college. And that was just like a that was just like a that was like a rookie promotion. That was a rookie promotion for the mixed martial arts.
Ooh.
And that was a fighter that I just love it, which is Marchan, which is from Venezuela. And he blew away with this knockout that I was really stunned because at that time that I was in college, I was watching some I was watching some rookie promotions for the mixed martial arts in Venezuela, and then I just got up for the history, and that was a time that I was getting involved for the all the mixed martial arts between because right now that it's truly amazing. And as a matter of fact, Charlotte just went for the UFC, which is the over the last 2 months on May, which is on mid, which is on afternoon, which is at noon. And that was something that like really amazing about it, and it was so great. They say
Yeah. John
Wills,
Jones,
John
Anderson
Jones,
Silva.
Anderson Silva, Nick Diaz,
Yeah.
Cain Velasquez, Conor McGregor.
Velasquez,
All right,
nice.
not
That's a
bad,
good
not
one.
bad,
That's a good one. That's
not
a good
bad.
one.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And to answer, the only, like I said, the only fight that I was able to like go to because it was live here where I live was UFC 140. I believe it was 149, or no, maybe it was just a fight night because it was Alvarez versus Poirier. So kind of funny that Poirier's fighting tonight, and then it was Aldo versus Stevens, and then it was Joanna versus Torres. So Joanna Wojciech was here and stuff. So yeah, it was interesting. But I other than that, nothing's come ever close to where I live for me to be able to go see it, which kind of sucks. But I'm just still a big UFC fan. I'm always watching whenever I get a chance because I just love it. I feel like these guys are gladiators in the center of the Coliseum, just going at it, with like swords, and the swords are their fists, and it's just crazy. Taking limbs when you're ripping someone's arm off. My wife's always looking at me weird. Why are you screaming so much? Because I want him to punch him.
Oh man! And I remember when I was in high school. I was 17 years old, and one of my friends that are called Caesar, he just invited me to watch it on some UFC. Then, oh my god, that was so great! I remember that was in UFC of 2011.
Hooked right away.
I remember those five that I was that was I can't. I was figuring out what was gonna happen like in 2011. Oh, that was another fight right there. That was that was Jose Aldo. That was that was Jose Aldo versus that was Jose Aldo, and that was Brooke Shields versus George St. Pierre. Oh my god, that was so great. That was so great. That was Jose Aldo versus Hominick. I was like, snap. That was one of the greatest fights that I was watching. And since then, I just came like one of those great fights and everything.
Right. I remember because I would buy DVDs from like HMV and like stuff like that, and like Blockbuster. Obviously, they most likely don't exist anymore. But I'd buy like Pride. I'd buy like Bellator, and I just watched like different types of like Invicta, FC. And I just watched like different types of fighters from all over the place. I'm like, man, if this guy could get in the UFC, or if this guy fought in the UFC. And then I watched old stuff, and I was like, my favorite fight is when Rampage Jackson picks that guy up.
Oh yeah,
and body slams him. Like I was like, oh my god, to see that live would just be insane.
Yeah, I just love that. All right, so what did it say? What was the what was the first UFC card you guys watched? Mine was UFC 100. Mine was George St. Pierre versus Jake Shields. That was on April 2011. That was the first time that I was watching with my high school friends, Cesar and Romario. That was a fight night.
Fight night.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was
That was
I can't remember what I'm trying to like search the fight, but mine was what was it, UFC 92, I think mine was. It was when Rampage Jackson fought Vanderlei Silva. That was my first UFC fight. I went over to a buddy's house and he was watching it on TV, and I think it was on Spike or something like that, and he was like, "Hey, check this out." I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh man, I'm hooked. I'm hooked on this." I'm like, I'm watching this all the time. And then like honest to God, hand on the heart, finger to the sky. I probably watch more UFC than I watch football almost. Like I love UFC. Like I love it. But like football, I just love it because I got to play it. UFC, I don't think I could ever be a UFC fighter. I'm just too chubby and I'm slow and whatever.
yeah.
But it's just like I said, I feel like they're like gladiators in the ring at the Coliseum and they're going at it.
Oh yes, I just saw.
Look at their attributes, like they're
really
grizzled.
amazing.
Like they're completely, and then the women too. I love women fighting too. I love it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, so right now it's 7:21 p.m. and right now I had some things to do with it on another stream. But thank you very much, Randy, to give us a predictions for the UFC 291 main card, which is it's gonna be like a banger after banger. You don't want to miss it, folks.
Watch the prelims. Watch the prelims too,
and of course the preliminaries, which is so amazing. So I'm just gonna say it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for the chat right here. Wells too. Of course, we got some chat. Mitch, the Menace. Also, we got some amazing predictions right now because this is something really amazing. I'm Rafael Chassin. This is right here. Randy, the NextShift. And of course, it's been a rap song. This is a wrap-up song. So here it is, folks. I will see you there next time. And of course, salutes for everybody else. El Capitan Rafucho, salute to you. NextShift, salute to you. And of course, we will see you next time. So there you go. Ding, ding. Here it goes the bell. So there it goes.
Boom.
You, folks, and have a great night.
Here we go.
Let's go.